Hello, everyone. My name is Jack Ananchenko. I'm a CTO and the co-founder at StellarSoft. For today's series, I'm joined by Luke Alterf, the director of sales in the Dutch region at nShift. nShift is in the part of e-commerce that most customers never see, but they always experience, which is delivery tracking and returns. Luke works with retailers scaling across the borders, carriers, and peak seasons. Luke, great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Jack. It's good to be here today.
Absolutely. Look, to start this off with your perspectives on the e-commerce and logistics in general, you've been deep in the e-commerce for and parcel logistics for a few years now. What originally pulled you into the space?
So I have studied supply chain, right? So I'm in the logistics field, let's say, all of my career. But at some point, I was working in consultancy role and always placed at companies that needed a turnover or a change in their process. So they were very slow, older companies. And then I was approached by a software company as my previous employer, SendCloud,
Hmm.
and asked to join them. And I was a bit done with the old slowness, and I was looking for something new and a bit more speedy to fit my, let's say, way of thinking and preferred way of working. And this company came along, and I said, yes, that's great because e-commerce offers this new, speedy way of doing business. And yeah, that's how it started.
Awesome. From your vantage point, though, what do most retailers still underestimate about the delivery?
Um, I think that it's always thought of as, hey, it's easy to ship something, but once you start to look into what you need to do to ship and to have customers be happy with that experience, it's not that straightforward, right? It's not just, oh, carrier A will come and pick up the parcel and bring it away. There's a lot of moving parts to it to make that a pleasurable journey, so that in the end, of course, your customer will come back to you because that's obviously the goal, right?
Can you recall the most like frequent challenges that your customers slash merchants face with the delivery process?
It depends a bit on the company, right? So there's let's say different stages that they're at with their e-commerce or with their shipping. So some really make the step from using a limited amount of carriers, and they want to go with local heroes, right? So they might already be supplying the whole of Europe or the whole world, but they're doing that with the traditional express delivery companies, and they want to start using local heroes, right? So have the delivery experience which the Dutch prefer, which the French prefer, which the Spanish prefer. So that's, let's say, the first step to getting into multi-carrier setup. Secondly is, of course, um, data is becoming very important, right? So the notion is there that, hey, there is this data, but how can I obtain it, and how can I make it useful to me so that I can, one, of course, logistics is typically about saving some cost left or right. So do
Hmm.
cost savings, get insights, manage performance, and of course, what more and more comes into the picture is that customer happiness, right? So moving from a necessary evil of having to deliver a
Hmm.
parcel to making it a value added service in the process.
Okay. Great. And then let's step back for a second, and for listeners who do not know Unshift yet, how do you usually explain what you do in plain terms?
Oh, that's it's relatively simple. So we are a delivery management platform, and this platform stretches all the way from the point of ordering a product in the checkout, selecting the delivery option, all the way to the end of a possible return, and also making that a smooth experience. One for the consumer, and two, of course, also a good experience for the retailer, so that they have grip, control, and information on this process and everything in between. So, label generation and tracking is also part of that.
Awesome. At which
Yeah,
moment in the customer journey does nShift actually show up? Is it like checkout experience,
yeah.
etc.?
So first point is checkout experience. Typically, when you enter the address, based on the address information, we are then capable of showing various delivery options so that the consumer chooses an option that fits with their life and their preferred way of having a delivery at home.
Awesome. Okay. And in general, do you see any like change over the last five, say, years in terms of delivery experience and why it matters more these days than previously?
So one of the bigger ones that is coming up, right, or that's being pushed right now is of course the PUDO delivery, right? So or if we call it out of home delivery, so to a parcel shop, to a gas station, to your supermarket, to a locker. Why is this being pushed by the carriers? So the carriers are pushing this because it allows them to reach a 100% first time delivery rate, right? Because the locker or the parcel shop, they know when it's open, they know where it is. There's always somebody there who can take the parcel. And two is uh, I think retailers are realizing that when you are selling online, you're reaching people from all generations, right? So my grandmother is buying stuff online, and let's say not my daughter yet, but at some point she will. So younger children are also at some point going online and becoming a consumer, and this is a huge age gap, right? We're talking about an age gap of about what 60, maybe 70 years in some cases, and these people have different preferences, right? And you want to accommodate the people in buying your product by having them get that product delivered to them in the way they prefer. Because my grandmother might prefer, if she orders cosmetics online, to pick it up around the store around the corner, so she knows it's there, but she can pick it up physically. She can pay with cash still if she wants to, but I myself, I prefer to get it into a locker because I'm traveling a lot, I'm working. The delivery driver sometimes says he was here but then wasn't, and then I
Hmm.
at least know that I can pick up the parcel as soon as it's there at my convenience. It's two
Okay.
totally different preferences, and it might get you a customer or leave you a customer at the point of checkout.
Do you have your own lockers at nShift, or do you use like partners for that?
No, so we don't have any physical infrastructure, no trucks, no vans, no warehouses, no lockers. So
Uh-huh.
we're really an integrator, right? So we have API connections to all of the parcel providers which have lockers,
Hmm.
which we can
Hmm.
enable in the checkout for our customers.
Okay, understood. And let's look at this from the merchant perspective. Many of them still see the delivery as the cost center, if you will. Where do you see it actively driving revenue or retention?
Yeah, so that comes with the convenience part, right? So if you can offer convenience to your customer, then they will see it as a value added. For me personally, if I can select this locker which is around my corner or on the way to the office, great, because that will suit my way of living and I can incorporate the reception of that parcel in my way of living. If you can do that, the customer also probably won't mind paying for something, right? Um, and that's why shipping cost and the introduction of it is, of course, also very important so that the retailer can offer value where needed to the right customer, right? So you want to be generous or promotional with customers who you see coming back every month, every 3 months, every twice a year. It depends on the product you're selling as well. And the ones who are doing the spot shopping, right? Because you have a discount on a certain product, you might want to treat those customers differently because they are, let's say, opportunistic, right? So you might want to charge them for shipping,
Uh-huh.
and then they might
Okay.
turn into your customer because they selected a service which fits with their preferences.
Hmm. Okay, interesting perspective. And do
Yeah.
you see any difference between the brands that treat delivery as the strategic avenue, and those who do not do the same?
Yeah, of course. So for the ones that we are supporting, we can definitely see that the ones who treat this delivery as a value added service, they see increases in revenue, right? So basket size might increase,
Hmm.
conversion rates increase. By leveraging, some of our customers have also offline stores, and you can leverage your offline capabilities also in your online servicing, right? So the click and collect concept of I buy it online, but I'm picking it up in the physical store, which might be nearby or
Uh-huh.
whatnot. And the positive effect of that is you get more people into your store, and the chances that people coming into your store will additionally buy something to the thing that they have already ordered online, and there's a certain percentage that will buy something extra in your store, which in essence is more revenue, right?
Yeah, and brand awareness, right? So you
Yeah.
still like if you have click and collect as part of your shipping options, then or delivery options,
Yeah.
then it's basically for your brand to be a little bit more popular, if you
Yeah.
will, to put it in simple terms.
Yeah, so
Um,
it has many areas that it can impact, and at the bottom line, it drives revenue, brand awareness, stickiness, customer loyalty, yeah, all of those things you want to strive for as a brand.
Okay. Can you walk us through your technical setup? I saw that you have like already integrations with Shopify, Magento, WooCommerce. Is there anything else that you guys integrate, or like is it public API do you supply? How does it work from the technical standpoint? And at what scale do delivery problems usually start to hurt from the technical perspective, of course?
Yeah. So in terms of integration, all our products are always integrated via API, right? So we're a 100% SaaS company, cloud-based, modern infrastructure, which means that we can connect to anything or any system that also operates APIs, right? So different parts of our platform connect to different parts in the customer journey. So the checkout is really the customer facing part, and that connects, like you said, in the e-commerce world, Magentos, WooCommerce, Shopify's, the commerce clouds. It can be
Okay.
headless. That there's a widget. All of those things. That's where it operates, right? It sits in the checkout, so it's in the front end. But the majority of our software is typically integrated with the ERP or WMS system of the customer. The order has
Okay.
come in, and then we obtain the shipping label from the carrier based on the order information. Um, and that typically is something invisible, right? So the end consumer doesn't even see that part, but we do enable the retailer to have flexibility in the carriers that they use, a clever rate selection, so that you might have the fastest or the cheapest option depending on different parameters like size, weight, shipping to country A, shipping to country B. It can all help you decide for those options. And that's typically a one-time thing that you set up, integrate over API, and then it
Uh-huh.
runs and you make changes as you go, right? But it's something that's quite stable and running in the background, powering the operation, basically.
And how does it work? Like, where does the ERP come in terms of operations? Given that the order is placed on the store, then it should, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming it basically connects with the system. You give the options for the couriers with the pricing, etc., depending on the weight, like height, whatever, dimensions. And then you give the options, and consumer chooses the option. You guys print the label, but where does the ERPs come in?
Yeah, so the products, they don't always work together, right? So some customers only use our checkout, some customers only use us to print the labels, some use both.
Okay.
That's not a must, right? So if the customer is using the checkout, we of course get the option also into our what we call book and print solution. So that's the part where we request the label from the carrier, it comes back, it gets printed. Um, that if they're working together, of course, there's that connection of the platform, right? It works as one. Where they work standalone, we of course hand off the information in the checkout to the ERP system so that in the background the customer then can generate the label. And the other way around, if there's no checkout solution from nShift in place, which is still perfectly fine, right? There's other solutions out there. What we then do is we retrieve the order information from the ERP system and based on what the customer wants us to do, right? So some customers tell us, please generate the UPS label, and then we do that. Others say,
Okay.
here's order A, the dimensions are 20 by 30 by 40, it weighs 2 kilos, please give me the cheapest option for this parcel to Germany. And
Okay.
then we'll print that label without any issue or human intervention, basically. And then this label rolls out the printer in the warehouse, so the warehouse guy also doesn't have to think, weigh, measure, know all the data is in the system. Here's the label, put it on, and ready. Next one.
Okay. For the context, where are most of your customers are from?
Most of our customers are based in the, let's say, European space, but we, of course, follow our customers all over the world, which means we also operate in North America, in APAC, anywhere the customer wants to go, we can run. That's the advantage of software.
Okay, sounds good. And like obviously there are situations when the merchant grows, and then when he grows, what do you typically face challenges wise? Is it like checkout, warehouse operations, or post purchase that you guys have to fine tune to make sure that you keep up with the pace of the growth?
Yeah, so the good thing is it depends a bit which and how many of our solutions they're using, right? So typically they start with the label generation part, and then scaling becomes about adding more carriers to your current setup, which is relatively straightforward. And where it becomes a bit more complex is when they say, okay, we're going to also ship to countries outside of the EU. I think about Norway, UK, Switzerland.
Uh-huh.
Then what we need from them is, of course, also customs documentation so that that parcel might pass through the customs clearance in
Uh-huh.
a appropriate fashion, and we can, of course, obtain all of that information digitally instead of customers having to put documents physically with the parcel that then gets opened by the customs authorities in order to pass it
Mm-hmm.
through. So that's one step. Another step might be that indeed they start to focus on the post-purchase part, right? So I think the most common step is I'm growing. Okay, what can I do to improve my customer journey as a whole? So that means checkout, so choice. That means the tracking experience. So maybe replacing that yellow and red email from DHL with a branded email. And that
Uh-huh.
might also mean offering a way of returning the product in an easy fashion where the customer doesn't have to call the customer service, or where that label doesn't go in the box so that I'm saving a bit on paper and I'm being more efficient in the process.
That's great that you touched on this point because it was like my next section of questions, kind of like to go through. So returns. Let's talk a little bit about the returns first. So they are painful, but they are unavoidable, right? Especially in the fashion industry. Can you clarify what, from your point of view, separates a good return flow from a bad one?
I mean, returns they don't have to be a pain in the ass, right? They don't have to be an ugly part of e-commerce. It depends a bit on the type of business that you're doing, right? But the way we look at returns is it's a way for a customer or a retailer to save a sale, right? So instead of that customer returning a product and you have to give the money back and you lose the sale, it is a touch point for you as a retailer where you can also convince them to maybe exchange the product, right? So
Hmm.
our product supports, for example, an exchange feature where let's say you bought a nice sweater, but ah, you bought it one size too big or too small. So
Okay.
instead of then returning the item, refunding the money, and hoping that the customer then will buy a size smaller or a size bigger, what you can offer is exchanges. So the customer sends back the item that doesn't fit, and in the same process he indicates, hey, don't give me my money back, just ship me an L instead of an M.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
this saves you administrational difficulty of having to refund the money, right? So it goes into the ERP, has to go to the finance department, they have to refund within 14 days because otherwise you don't meet the rules. No, you just simply, as soon as the parcel is handed in, you get a scan, right? So you know that the customer has handed the parcel in and it's not in
Okay.
his possession anymore, and you simply ship him the same item in a size bigger. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that will cost you one more shipping
Mm-hmm.
way of shipping, but you have gained the revenue, or you kept the revenue of that sweater that you sold, right? So it's you
Uh,
didn't lose a sale, you kept your sale and your customer happy because you offered an easy way
yeah.
for them
Oh,
to swap out.
I was about to say that. So the biggest thing here is not that you save the revenue, but instead you like your customer basically experienced a very good return flow where I mean we are
Yeah,
willing to give you the return, no problem at all, but then instead you have all of these options and then you choose one because like if eventually like originally you wanted to order a sweater and then the only thing which is not right is sizing, right? You might want to change it, and there is nothing that costs you more than that. So you pay for the customer
yeah,
to send to consumer for the consumer to send it back to you, and then you send a new one back to him, and then that's it. But then
yeah,
customer experience wise, it's a very good one. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
yeah,
And to your point about branded communication, so
yeah,
you said that it's always very good to have branded communication, branded emails versus career-driven emails
yeah.
during the delivery phase. As far as I know, nShift already provides that, and
Yeah.
I think that's for the reason. Can you tell us a little bit like more for the backstory about this, like how you decided to implement this?
Well, so because we have this integration with the carrier to get the label, which
Hmm.
nowadays is often API connections, we're also capable in that same connection to, of course, retrieve all of the status data. So one thing you have to know is that the data that, for example, DHL publishes on the website for everybody to see, right? You fill in your tracking number, your maybe an email address, and then you get to see where your parcel is, right? And typically it has like what 4 or 5 different steps that you can see all the way from out for delivery until delivery.
Hmm.
But every parcel has many more events. An average parcel has about what, let's say 15 tracking events,
Hmm.
and the carrier doesn't share those on the tracking website that they publish, but via the API we can get all of that data, right?
Okay.
So we have all of these events, and then instead of having the carrier decide when they send an email, so which event will trigger an email
Ah,
or an
okay, okay,
SMS,
okay.
the retailer gets to decide, okay, I want to send only 2 emails, or I want to send 10 emails, or I want to send 5, right? So we don't recommend 10, right? Because you don't want to bombard your customer with 10 emails.
Right.
So they have the control about which events they can communicate to the customer. And
Hmm.
secondly, if you have that capability, then why not brand it, right? So why not make it in such a way that the customer feels as if they never left the web shop, but they're still there, right? So I ordered something from retailer A, I can still see that I'm with retailer A. They can see which carrier is delivering their parcel, and they can click to the website if they want to, but the initial view and information is simply branded. And obviously the cool thing about this is this is a bit marketing or getting into the marketing area.
Hmm.
These retailers, they're sending out emails, right? I think the average
Hmm.
open rate for an email is what, 2-3%. Like
Yeah.
like
Even
hey,
less maybe than
look at my product, right?
that.
But a track and trace email has an open rate average of over 50%,
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
meaning the chance that your consumer will see your actual content is going up tenfold.
Yep.
Meaning the content you actually put in there gets an audience. It does something with your audience. And if you make it clickable, then customers, let's say I bought a pair of shoes, and you know that I bought a pair of shoes, so why don't I put an advert in your tracking email with, hey, this goes nice with your shoes, or have you already seen my sock selection because you bought new shoes, maybe you want new socks.
Uh-huh.
We see that roughly is it 10-15% of people that get that email, they click on the sock advert, proceed to buy something again.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Meaning they
Very
bought
good.
something, now they bought something again. Great.
Yeah. You can upsell within the
Yeah.
same emails, and then it's
Yeah.
not only tenfold if we are talking 2%, 1% of the open rates for the general MLs versus over 50% for
Yeah.
the
And
reports, if you will.
yeah.
So it's like 20-fold, 30-fold, whatever that is.
Yeah, and think
So
about if you do, I don't know, if you have, I don't know, 2-3 million shipments per year, and only 1 or 2% actually proceeds to buy something more from those emails, that's a huge amount of revenue, and it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
there for the taking, right? It's relatively low hanging fruit, if you will.
Indeed, yes. Let's talk about risk for a second.
Yeah.
Parcels get lost, damaged, delayed. How do retailers typically handle these situations these days? From your perspective, of
Um,
course.
it's still a very much retrospective business, in the sense that typically what happens is the consumer reaches out and says like, hey, I'm not getting my parcel. So either you go and ask the carrier, see where my parcel is, if it's still coming, or please refund me because you know it's probably lost because I've been waiting for a week, it's not there yet.
Hmm.
And of course that will always, it will never be that there's no parcels that don't get lost or don't get damaged. That will always be the case.
Hmm.
I think what you can change as a retailer is the way you go about it. So instead of waiting for the customer to come to you, go to the customer. So what we've been seeing is that negative touch points are a great opportunity to interact with your customer, because you can show how good you are. You can
Hmm.
show that, hey, okay, the parcel is delayed. You know what? I'm shipping you a new one, and it's already on the way. Here's the tracking information. So what we can do is, there's triggers in our tracking solution that can notify the retailer saying like, hey, these parcels, they haven't gotten a status update within
Hmm.
12 hours. And every
Okay.
hour that that doesn't happen, the chances that that parcel is lost is increasing by, I don't know, X%. So you can then, with that information, you can say like, hey, dear customer, we're not seeing any movement on your parcel. Um, don't worry, we're checking with the carrier to see what's happening, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible, right? So you can proactively start communicating that you know that their parcel is delayed before they start
Hmm.
complaining about it. That means
Uh-huh.
that you're ahead of the curve, and then if that parcel is lost, you're already in touch with them. They already appreciate you reaching out, and any solution that you will give them will be received with open arms. It might still be that you have to refund them or ship a new item, but they
Hmm.
never got that frustration as to, oh, this brand never delivered my parcel.
And brand image should not be like this is what I'm trying to deliver to pretty much all of our merchants that we support, is that like your brand awareness, your brand is what you've been building for years, and it's like it takes years to build it, but then it takes a second to ruin the
Yeah,
experience, right? So yeah,
yeah.
good point, very good point.
And you
And
don't,
do you
you can't
see
control the carrier, right? So you cannot, it will always happen. But the way you deal with it will define how people also look at your brand, right? Oh, these guys are proactive. They're on their mark. They know what they're doing. It's good. It adds value to the perception.
insurance becoming a standard part of the delivery like stack rather than a separate afterthought?
Yes. So especially with higher value goods,
Hmm.
insurance is becoming a standard thing. So I think many retailers have burned themselves on the fact that carriers have, let's say, the basic insurance, right, where you get like a standard tariff per kilo, but it's often euros, right? So if you ship electronics, which are worth many hundreds of euros, it really pays off to have a separate insurance outside of what the carrier might say that is included in their services, so that you get refunded. In some cases, not only the purchase price of the item you sold, but sometimes also the sales price of the item, because essentially, your revenue is then also insured, right? Which
Yeah, yeah.
can be interesting, depending on what you sell.
Do you think like globally, do you think it's more for the customer to ensure their parcel, or is it for the brand to kind of like to include it by default?
It's the For me, I would say it's the retailer, right? The consumer is already well protected in the sense
Hmm.
that they're protected by general law that states that, or consumer law that states, hey, if you paid for something and you never received it, you're entitled to a refund or a replacement product. So they
Yeah.
will get compensated regardless. It's about your own revenue and costs that are there. And depending on the product that you sell, the premiums for that insurance, they're really not that crazy. So
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
would
A lot.
definitely recommend to look at it and implement it. And it depends a bit. I think it highly depends on the value of your products, right? Because certain retailers will say, okay, the production value of my item is really not relevant, so it doesn't make sense to insure all of it. Or my loss rate is so low, okay, I'll accept. But I think there's this category where you starting to see goods that are over value of 200 euros, where it starts to make sense.
Okay. Awesome. Um, nShift is already profitable as far as I know and growing
Yes,
fast.
yes.
For you as a sales director, what metrics matter the most personally?
I mean, in that regard, sales is binary, right? So you either obtain your quota or you don't. So
I could
it's
say.
about obtaining more customers effectively, right? And that's it. Success is getting more customers. Period.
So,
It's very, very simple.
so is it like, would you say that I could supplement it with not only about new customers, but also deeper usage and geographic expansion, like as the like as a rule of thumb, basically?
So let's say at the base, it's new customers, and of course, where those customers come from is not necessarily, or where their base is not a problem, because we're selling software, right? So we have this capability of going pretty much anywhere we want to go, or where the customers wants us to be. That being said, our focus is on Europe, but um, at the bigger brands, they are headquartered in Europe, but they are acting on a global scale, right? So that means we go anywhere where they require us to go.
Okay,
So yes,
awesome.
and yes, new markets is on the agenda. So Germany is, let's say, a market, or the DACH region is a market that we have been only focusing on recently,
Uh-huh.
with myself there,
Okay.
because there were customers there, or there are customers there, but there was like a natural way of growing things, and now there's focus on it, right? So there's also from our side investment in marketing, the product, etc. So yeah, that's where we're headed.
Do you see conversion rates growing higher for your merchants from Germany who use nShift on their daily basis? Like, do you feel like giving the options to the end consumers actually bring
Yes,
higher conversion rates?
yes, yes.
Okay,
If you
cool.
if
Good to know.
you're uh, willing to offer and capable of offering the options, right? Let's put it this way. If you're a very small merchant, it's very hard to obtain 2 or 3 contracts which are at an interesting shipping rate. So, hey, you want to also look on your operational side, can I make that happen? But yes, if you offer, even if you start with 2 options, think about PUDO and home delivery or home and express delivery. That's already a great start. It doesn't
Okay.
have to be very fancy, but delivering a choice or offering a choice is definitely a conversion booster.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that the delivery game is not really a solo game, and you have to have all of these partnerships with the careers, etc. Um, what makes the partnerships actually work in this ecosystem?
So we typically we have 2 different sides of partnerships for nShift. So on the one side, we partner with e-commerce platforms, WMS systems, ERP systems. Why? Because our software often connects with those other software providers,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So it's an
Hmm.
ecosystem, right? And if we have a partnership with these guys and there might be a pre-existing integration, the threshold of starting to use nShift in that environment is lower, right? So an integration can be established quicker. I'm not going to say plug and play because there's always some configuration that needs to happen. So it's not yet to the level of download an app, log in, toggle a few switches and let's go. No, there's some work to be done, but it's much quicker and much more efficient than building an API connection from scratch. And on the other side, of course, carriers, right? That's our bread and butter. So we build carrier connections for a living. And the relationship with these carriers is, of course, important. Why? So imagine being a carrier and the carrier sales guy, they have sold a new contract to a very nice retailer.
Okay.
What they want, of course, is for the customer or the retailer to start using that contract as quickly as possible.
Hmm.
Without an nShift, the retailer would need to build a API connection to this carrier by themselves, which can take months.
Years or yes,
Years not. That would be very crazy, but months
depending
is.
on the budgets. But again, yeah, of course, month.
And there's an investment cost, right? There's building a carrier connection is in most cases not cheap, which means that the start of their contract is getting delayed, right? Which means they don't get income from that because we already have this integration with the carrier. And if the customer is working with nShift, they can see that contract go live not in a matter of months, but in a matter of days or weeks.
Days.
And
Just because it's a click,
that's good for
it's
them,
a
right?
click day.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for
And
sure.
we're
I mean, for
and we
the
don't bind them,
carriers,
right?
it
Because we don't
never,
resell. Yeah. So it's a good relationship that we have.
especially when it comes to the already prepared solutions from your side, right? So it's like it's a click that they do once, like for instance, Shopify application or WordPress plugin or Magento extension or whatever that is. They basically click, do a few clicks, and then it's not even weeks. If they have the available developer on a standby, they basically give a task, and it's like a matter of up to a day or 2 days that they install and put it live, right? So obviously there is a little bit of testing behind this, but again, given that the team is in the standby, it's very
Yeah.
quick, and then the carrier is happy, and you're happy, and the merchant is happy, so everyone's
Yeah.
happy, and
Yeah.
then
It's a yeah.
conversion rates grow. And like, do you think would you agree that having strong partnerships with carriers is much better than releasing new features?
I would say partnerships are, yes, they are important, but of course, yes, I can agree to that. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
But
because I mean,
as a software platform, you have to also, work on the way ahead, right? I mean, there's new things happening around us every day, and we have to see how that impacts our solution. And I think the main example right here today is AI, right? So what role is that going to play? Which features are we going to release? All of that stuff is of course also very important to the platform. But yes, carrier relationships are definitely important.
cool. Couple more to wrap it up. One being, what do you think is the biggest operational mistake that the brands make when expanding globally or internationally, generally?
The biggest mistake. Ooh. Um,
Do you think it's connected with the delivery at all?
yes. I think what they sometimes underestimate is the preferences of their customers in a different country. So typically, a retailer is based somewhere, right? And they have a home market, which is clearly their biggest. And
Hmm.
they know that market very well. And their consumers, they have preferences also in shipping, in many things. But I think they underestimate that already within Europe, those preferences vary very much, right? So let's take two examples. I think Germany people still prefer simply a home delivery by
Hmm.
preferably DHL, as far as I understand.
Hmm. Okay.
In, for example, France, the preferred way of delivering is by far into a locker.
Okay.
So if you go from Germany to France thinking that they only want home delivery, so you offer home delivery. No, in France, the majority of the people, they want to be able to get the parcel into a locker
Okay.
of their choosing. So that's vastly different. And if you can scale into another market, but you don't take that into account, then you will probably not have as much of a success as you could have had taking into account preferences.
Cool. Great insight. I mean, it's good to know that like there are two differences, and I would have never imagined that France would have the locker preference on top of
Yeah,
their delivery options.
and so this goes all over Europe, right? So there's differences all over the place. So I would say there's no country that has, there's countries that have similar, let's say, preferences, but there's always something that's a little bit different. Um, and if you go
Y-
in without acknowledging that, I think you're making a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, delivery options, culture in general, this is one of those things that everyone basically underestimates. I agree with you
Yeah.
100%. And actually, I had another podcast, another conversation with the founder from Netherlands. Um, so he basically like produces stone notebooks. So he went viral in the Netherlands for his product. So essentially, it's not the paper notebooks that he produces, but
Yeah.
instead he produces the ones that like from stone. There is obviously some resources and chemicals inside of it to make sure that it's produced well, but then it's sustainable, it's recyclable, like, and you can write something, you remove, you write something, you remove, and it's like it's continuous, just because like he's a lot about green environment, etc. And he basically said, okay, so as we go viral in the Netherlands, maybe we do the same in Germany, just because the market is 10 times bigger than Netherlands. And he basically launches a new product, invests a lot in marketing, etc., etc., and there is nothing basically, because
Yeah.
he didn't know what the culture is about, he didn't know the brands, he didn't know like lots of things that he said that, hey, I wanted to know a lot about it. Obviously, I will not reveal. I mean, the podcast will go live and he'll tell about it. But then in general, yes, so many things. And then one of those things that he said was about the delivery options. That, I mean, obviously, you have to comply with what the current market dictates, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
And by offering several things, right, everybody can choose what they want, and then there's a big chance of that part succeeding at least.
Cool. Alrighty. And the last one, what would be what if you could give one piece of advice to a brand going international in 2026, what would it be?
Um, it would be think about your supply chain and think about preferences of the markets you are looking to penetrate, and
Mm-hmm.
also consider, let's say, the end to end, right? So from checkout to returns, what do I need to make happen for that all to function? Because
Mm-hmm.
you can also get a bad reputation if you are, or your process is completely bad for returns.
Mm-hmm.
It's important. So think about A to Z before you
Mm-hmm.
enter, and then I think you're gonna be fine.
Cool. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Look, was great conversation, very practical, so many insights, very real. Thank you for sharing your perspective on how brands grow and the culture of the delivery industry in general. For anyone who is listening to the show, I'll leave all of the links below, but who wants to check it out, nShift.com is where you go. Look them up. The industry really grows, it really matters. And look, again, thank you so much.
yeah. Thank you very much, Jack, for having me. It was a pleasure, and until next time.
Till next time, for sure.